Good evening, Dragons. Thank you for joining me for Operations with Decimal Summary. We're going to work on the foldable that lives inside our awesome interactive math notebook on page 22. You received the foldable today in class. I just need you to follow along with the notes this evening. We're going to start with adding decimals. We're going to fill in the blanks, and then we're going to walk through the dynamics of the operation. First, line up the decimal points. Then, add as with whole numbers. You may have to write zeros as placeholders. Bring down the decimal point. What is that going to look like? I prefer to rewrite the problem. 2 12/100 added to 9 8/10. Notice that the decimals line up, just like that. In fact, they line up so neatly that you can go ahead and bring your decimal down right now. If you like, feel free to add a placeholder here in the hundreds place on the 9 8/10. Now that we have the decimals lined up, everybody's stacked according to place value. Ones are with ones, tenths are with tenths, and hundredths are with hundredths. We're just going to add. 2 and 0 is 2. 1 and 8 is 9. 2 and 9 is 11. All set. Now I'm going to scoot straight over to subtraction over here. The notes are similar here. Line up the decimal points. Then subtract as with whole numbers. You may have to write zeros to borrow, but we don't tend to use the word borrow as much currently. Most mathematicians have changed the vocabulary to regroup. Bring down the decimal point. Now in this situation, we really have no other choice but to add zeros. We have 8 minus 1 and 65/100. 8 is in the ones place, and it is lined up with this number 1, which is also in the ones place. 8 was not provided a tenths and hundredths place, so we're going to put zeros there. We need these because we're going to have to regroup in order to subtract appropriately. 0 can't take away 5, nor can it borrow from here, so I'm going to jump all the way over to 8. 8's going to give something up. It's going to become 7 and gives it to here, which becomes 10. This 10 is then going to regroup, becomes 9, and brings over the 1 over here, which is now 10. 10 subtract 5 is 5. 9 subtract 6 is 3. Again, I am neatly lined up, just like I did in addition. Decimal point. 7 subtract 1 is 6. 6 35/100 is the correct answer. Next, multiply. Multiply as you would multiply whole numbers. Then place the decimal point The next line is actually telling you how to place the decimal point. It's not as thorough as the notes I provided in your binder, but it basically gets you to the same place. The number of decimal places in the product is the total number of decimal places in the factors. We're going to see how that plays out mathematically, and I'm still going to mention the powers of 10 as I did in class. So we're going to have to take 1 and 159 thousandths and multiply it by 3 hundredths. Except we really want these to look like whole numbers. That is our current goal. I can multiply this by 1, 2, 3, 1,000, which is also 10 to the third power, which is going to convert it to 1,159. Looks like a whole number. I need to convert this one, 1, 2, that's 10 to the second power. That's going to make that really just look like a 3. Now I have 1,159 times 3. Remember, this movement is a temporary move. Right now I have multiplied by 10 to the third power and 10 to the second power. In total, I've multiplied by 10 to the fifth power. So after I multiply these factors, I'm going to have to undo this situation. 3 times 9 is 27. Put down the 7, carry the 2. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, I have the basic raw numbers. Now my job is to figure out where to put the decimal. In a natural situation, the decimal lives here. I moved all these to become whole numbers. Now I have to move it back. All the numbers are going to have to shift back. I have to go 5 spaces. So essentially I am dividing by 10 to the fifth power. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would live here, which means I have to put a 0 here. Your final answer is best written as 0 decimal 0, that's that one right there, 3477. Last but not least, division. Move the decimal point in the divisor and the dividend until the divisor is a whole number. Place the decimal point in the quotient above the point in the dividend. Divide as you would divide whole numbers. 88 hundredths is your dividend. 1 6/10 is your divisor. This division problem could be rewritten in this manner. Sometimes this helps people remember who goes inside the division box and who lives outside the division box. The number on top always lives inside the division box. Now we're set up, but we haven't done step 1, which is move the decimal enough times in the divisor to make it look like a whole number. It's necessary for me to move it once. Now, instead of looking like 1 6/10, it looks like 16, which is much friendlier to work with. To be fair, I'm going to have to move this one once as well. Get that decimal into your quotient immediately. Your answer is your quotient. It's going to live right here. This is going to be where your quotient is. Now, we ask ourselves, we go through the long division algorithm, divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, repeat. How many times can 16 go into 0? It cannot. How many times can 16 go into 8? 0 times. 0 times 16 is 0. Subtract. Now we're going to bring down. We ask ourselves, how many times can 16 go into 88? How many times do you think 16 can go into 88? I've practiced this problem, so I happen to know it goes in 5 times. 5 times 16 is 80. I'm going to subtract. Now, I still have a remainder, but currently I have nothing to bring down. We're permitted to add another placeholder and bring it down. So we're going to bring it all the way down. We're going to have 16 going to 80, which we know this one is 5. 5 times 16 is 80. We result in 0, so we can stop. It's a terminating decimal. Your quotient is a terminating decimal. And it's correct. So once you have all your notes set, are going to glue it into our notebook for our test tomorrow. Let's see. All right. So we're going to glue this back side here. And remember, you've got to bring your notebook because it's the only thing you're allowed to use on tomorrow's test. Get that in, paste it in on page 22. You want to create flaps. This is how you would do it. So now I've got a flap for adding and a flap for multiplying. I'm going to spin it around, do the same thing to the next side. So I'm going to try to do the same thing to the next side. There we go. All right. So now you have a summary operation sheet. You can use this on tomorrow's test. Make sure you have all your notes. In addition to this, we're all going to be allowed to use our long division algorithm mnemonic device here. And we're all allowed to use our multiplication chart here. So you have all the tools you need for success tomorrow. All set. Thank you.